Good morning YouTube and welcome back to the channel. And finally the 172 Cup is complete. The 197-200 camshafts have been installed. We've got 197-200 injectors to go in and we're hoping to crack the 200 horsepower figure today. Now it's naturally aspirated. It's going to be a warmer day than when we were last down here, so let's just hope everything goes to plan. As I say, with that alternator that I had previously failed, just rotten timing. So yeah, let's get the car inside and let Andy work his magic. With the injectors in the glove box, it was time to finally get them fitted. Now you can't run the car on the 197-200 injectors on the standard calibration, as I believe all the fuel table will be out massively, and we obviously don't want to cause any problems to the car, as potentially it could be running rich, or very rich indeed. So I had to wait till it's strapped on the dyno. Andy had put his base file on that was set up for the 197-200 injectors, and then obviously once that was done we could complete a power run. Things didn't go amazing on the initial run, as with my luck and dynos and NA tuning. The car just wasn't delivering, and Andy thought it's either going to be an issue with the cam timing or the compression. So the simplest thing to do was quickly check the compression. Now we didn't do a leak down test, just a compression test to get a vague idea, and from memory it was about 175 psi across the board on the cylinder. So it was on a hot engine. We just did the test while it was strapped to the dyno. Not amazingly strong, but also not weak. So he pointed to the fact that it may be that the timing bar I was using wasn't suitable for the 197-200 camshafts, as this timing bar was what I used on the standard camshafts. But thankfully, Andy and his dad had a tool that they'd made with the timing tool that was advanced even further on the inlet to get more potential out of the mid-range. And I'm pleased to report we did see some mid-range gains, but it didn't do wonders for the top end that we were hoping for. But we'll get into that later in the video. Sadly though, I did give myself a little injury trying to work on the car. Now Andy stopped the car and said, look, let's get the timing checked, see if we can advance the inlet with my dad's tool and see if we can claw back some mid-range. Me being impatient said, yep, I'll just crack on and do it now. It's a hot engine. He said let it cool down. I didn't want to waste any more of his time, so I jumped right in, and unfortunately trying to get that crank pin in, burnt myself on the thermostat housing and my arm was wedged in there, so it was just like bacon sizzling on there. And even now, almost a week later, I've got a pretty nasty love bite as a reminder of the day on the dyno with the little 172 Cup. So it's not all great news with the 172 Cup on the dyno to do. Not terrible news, but unfortunately it's just not delivering the numbers. Andy really kindly let me have a go with his timing tool, quickly helped me readjust the camshaft timing, putting a bit more advance on the inlet. For those that watch the cam belt change, this is where you slightly alter the engine timing beyond standard spec. And the power curve is lovely, the line's consistent and it looks like it should be perfect, but it's just down everywhere. And the concern is It's a 134,000 mile old engine, 21 years old. Does it just need a bit of a refresh? Because if we had 5% across the board everywhere, that's the numbers we'd be expecting, or at least I'd be hoping to see today. But at the same time, it is a completely stock internal engine. It hasn't been rebuilt. It could really do with a good refresh. So as always, Andy's been fantastic in trying to diagnose it. He had a look at the VVT solenoid as well, put a new one of those in just to see if there was an issue with that. But yeah, unfortunately, I think she is just getting a bit leggy, and obviously the time that I've had it on track as well, it's not had a particularly easy life in my ownership. But yeah, so he's going to finish up on the mapping now. We're going to overlay at the end a car that had a similar setup with the 197 cams, with the shorter style inlet manifold, but that had also had an engine refresh. And you can just see the lines are very similar, but it's just consistently higher everywhere. So yeah, the concern now is that she's probably going to need a rebuild. So plenty more to come on the series, but we're going to let Andy finish tweaking the mapping now, get the file set up so it's going to be ready for the Clio Sport Saturday. But yeah, just not as strong as I'd hoped, unfortunately, but that is unfortunately the way it is sometimes with tuning naturally aspirated cars. So the final run has been completed. Andy has worked his magic, and as you can see, we've got the red lines, which is the torque from earlier and the horsepower, and then the blue line is after the mapping has been completed. Now this is a slightly descaled one, whereas you look at it stretched up there, it looks much smoother. And to be honest with you, as you said, I was hoping to crack 200 horsepower today. We've gone from 194 to 195.5 horsepower. So a 1.5 horsepower gain, which in the grand scheme of things is not a monstrous outcome. But we do need to keep in mind, as we mentioned, that it is an old car. It's been a couple of years since we were last here, and we're now running the 197-200 injectors, which will deliver a safer amount of fuel when we're at the top of that rev range when it's next on track. But happy to bits, really, that the car is still going strong. 21 years old, 134,000 miles. As I say, we'll probably do a series at some stage rebuilding it, but it's not going to be anytime soon. So that wraps our episode up at Engine Dynamics, getting the 197-200 camshafts and injectors fitted. A big thanks to Andy for spending the time going through everything today, as previously when we've come down here and done the work with Matt's Clio 200 and the 172 Cup 3 years ago. Obviously, we'd have loved to have seen 200 horsepower today, but it just is what it is, unfortunately. But we've done everything we can. We've done the compression check. The next stage really will be a leak down test just to see if the valve seats are all sealing correctly, because we're not really splitting hairs over a lot of power here. It just needs a little bit more to break their numbers, but is it worth the time, effort rebuilding it? That's going to be the question. But the good news is Andy let me use his setting tool, so we've got the cams advanced correctly to his preferred setting that him and his dad set up. The car, like I say, is driving fine, so it's not got a mechanical problem. We can get to the Clio Sport Saturday weekender, which we're going to be doing at the end of the month, where it goes on track again. So I'm looking forward to getting it there, and obviously I'll take you guys with me. Thanks for watching, and if you've got any needs for Renault Sport mapping, check out Engine Dynamics. I'll put all the details in the description, including the Instagram. Thanks for watching.